the lush jungles of India, a young girl's extraordinary bond with a tiger cub blossomed into an unbreakable friendship. A decade later, their paths crossed again, leading to a heart-stopping reunion that defied all expectations. Dawn broke over the Thunder Bonds Tiger Reserve, and 10-year-old Lily Sanders, who stood at the edge of the protected zone, felt her heart heavy with dread. Today was the day she had been fearing for weeks, the day her best friend, Raja, would be taken away. Lily watched, her blue eyes wide and brimming with tears, as the reserved wildlife team carefully approached the young tigress. Raja, now nearly 2 years old, had grown into a magnificent creature. Her orange and black coat gleamed, and her amber eyes darted between the approaching humans and Lily. Dr. Amita Patel, the head wildlife biologist, knelt beside the girl. "Remember, little one," she said gently, "this is what's best for Raja. She needs to learn how to be a wild tiger." Lily nodded silently, but her heart screamed in protest. She watched as Raja was coaxed into a large transport cage, the tigress's movements hesitant and confused. When the cage door closed with a resounding clang, Lily flinched as if she'd been struck. "Please," her voice cracked as she turned to her parents. "Isn't there another way?" Dr. Emily Sanders wrapped an arm around her daughter's shoulders. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. We've discussed this. Raja needs to learn to survive on her own." As the transport vehicle rumbled to life, something inside Lily snapped. She broke free from her mother's embrace and ran towards the truck. "Raja," she cried out, her small legs pumping furiously to keep up with the accelerating vehicle. "I'll come back for you." I promised. The truck picked up speed, leaving Lily in a cloud of dust. She ran until her legs gave out, collapsing to her knees on the dirt road. Sobs racked her small frame as the reality of the separation hit her full force. Dr. James Sanders jogged up to his daughter, kneeling beside her on the ground. He gently turned Lily to face him, his heart breaking at the sight of her tear-stained cheeks and quivering lip. "Lily," he said softly, "I know this hurts more than anything, but you've given Raja the greatest gift, a chance at a real life in the wild. Your love and care have made her strong enough to survive out there." Lily looked up at her father, her blue eyes swimming with tears. "But she's my friend," she whispered, her voice hoarse from crying. "What if she forgets me?" Dr. James pulled his daughter into a tight hug. "Some bonds can't be broken, sweetheart, not even by time or distance." As they walked back to the research station, Lily's steps were heavy with sorrow. She cast one last look over her shoulder at the now empty road, a flood of memories rushing to her mind. 2 years earlier, 8-year-old Lily Sanders was a whirlwind of curiosity and energy. As the daughter of renowned wildlife conservationists Dr. James and Dr. Emily Sanders, her playground was a vast and diverse natural environment surrounded by mangrove forests and winding waterways. On a sweltering summer morning, Lily ventured deeper into the reserve than ever before. Pushing through dense undergrowth, she stumbled upon a clearing and froze. There, barely visible in the dappled sunlight, lay a tiger cub. Lily's heart raced. She knew the rules: never approach a wild animal, especially a tiger. But something in the cub's weak mewing called to her. Cautiously, she crept closer. "Hey there," she whispered. "Are you okay?" The cub's eyes, barely open, fixed on her. It tried to stand but collapsed, too weak to move. Lily's mind whirled. She needed to get help, but she couldn't leave the cub alone. What if other predators found it? Taking a deep breath, she made a decision that would change her life forever. She scooped up the cub, surprised by how light it felt, and began the treacherous journey back to the research station. The cub didn't struggle, either too weak or somehow sensing Lily's intent to help. When Lily burst into the station cradling the tiger cub, chaos erupted. Her parents were simultaneously horrified and amazed. Lily, Dr. Emily gasped. "What have you done?" "It needs help," Mum Lily pleaded, her arms tightening protectively around the cub. Please, the next few days were a flurry of activity. The cub, which they discovered was female, was severely dehydrated and malnourished. Dr. James suspected poachers had killed her mother. They named her Raja, meaning royal in Hindi, a fitting name for a future queen of the jungle. As Raja recovered, Lily rarely left her side. She helped with feedings, cleaning, and even read stories to the cub. Against all odds, Raja began to thrive. But with her improving health came a growing dilemma: should they release her back into the wilderness or wait a little longer? They hadn't anticipated the profound connection that would develop between Raja and Lily. The goal was always to return her to the wild, but how could they do that now? Emily, wise beyond her years, understood the complexity of the situation. "We have to teach her to be a tiger," she declared one evening, her voice filled with determination. And so began an extraordinary program. Under the guidance of the reserve's experts, Lily helped introduce Raja to her natural habitat. They taught her to swim in the shallow waters and to recognize the sense of prey and predators alike. Lily was there for every step, her presence a constant comfort to the growing cub. As months passed, Raja grew into a sleek young tigress. Her bond with Lily remained strong, but she was also developing the instincts she'd need to survive in the wild. It was a delicate balance, one that filled the Sanders family with both pride and worry. "We always knew this day would come," Dr. James said softly one evening, watching Lily and Raja play at the edge of the forest. "But I don't think any of us realized how hard it would be." The years following Raja's release were a whirlwind of change for Lily Sanders. The pain of separation, though sharp at first, gradually transformed into a fierce determination that shaped her future. Lily threw herself into her studies with an intensity that surprised even her parents. Her bedroom walls, once covered with tiger posters, now displayed complex ecosystem diagrams and maps of global conservation efforts. Every book, every documentary, every lecture became a stepping stone on her path back to the Sundarbans. "I've never seen anyone so focused," Dr. Emily remarked to her husband one evening, watching their daughter pore over a thick biology textbook. "It's like she's on a mission," Dr. James nodded, a mixture of pride and concern in his eyes. "She is, and I have a feeling it goes beyond just conservation." As Lily progressed through school, her passion for wildlife became infectious. She started a conservation club and awareness campaigns. On her 16th birthday, Lily made a bold declaration to her parents: "I'm going to become a wildlife biologist." She announced over dinner, and "I'm going back to the Sundarbans." Her parents exchanged glances, not surprised but aware of the challenges ahead. "It won't be easy," Dr. James cautioned. "The competition for those positions is fierce." Lily's blue eyes flashed with determination. "I know, but this is what I was meant to do. I made a promise, and I intend to keep it." The next few years were a blur of advanced classes, internships, and volunteer work. Lily's summers were spent in various wildlife reserves, gaining hands-on experience with different species. But no matter where she went, her heart always pulled her back to the tigers. During her final year of university, Lily's thesis on tiger conservation strategies in human-populated areas gained international attention. Her unique perspective, blending scientific rigor with a deep understanding of the human-wildlife relationship, caught the eye of several prominent conservation organizations. As graduation approached, Lily received multiple job offers, but there was only one she seriously considered: a junior researcher position with the Sundarbans Tiger Reserve. The night before her departure, Lily stood in her childhood bedroom surrounded by packed boxes. Her fingers traced the worn edges of a photo: a young girl with a tiger cub. "I'm coming back. Raja," she whispered. "I don't know if you're still out there, but I'm keeping my promise." As the plane took off the next morning, carrying Lily back to the land of mangroves and tigers, she felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. 10 years had passed. The Sundarbans had changed in her absence, and so had she. But something she hoped remained constant: the bond between a girl and her tiger. Shortly after settling into her work, she was met with a startling development. Her heart raced, not from physical exertion, but from the news she had just received. Dr. Amita Patel's expression was somber as she briefed the team. "We've confirmed reports of a new poaching ring operating in the western sector," Dr. Patel announced, her voice tight with concern. "They're using sophisticated methods we haven't encountered before. 3 tigers have already fallen victim." Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Do we have any leads?" Dr. Patel nodded, pulling up a grainy camera trap image on her tablet. "This was captured 2 nights ago. We believe it's one of their scouts." As the team leaned in to study the image, Lily's eyes were drawn to something in the background: a bunch of orange and black stripes. Her heart skipped a beat. "Those tigresses," Lily pointed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we enhance this section?" Dr. Patel complied, zooming in on the area Lily indicated. As the image sharpened, Lily felt the blood drain from her face. One of them could be Raja, she thought to herself. After 10 years, here was proof that her old friend was alive and could be in grave danger. As the team dispersed to prepare for the challenges ahead, Lily stepped outside, her eyes scanning the dense mangrove forest. Somewhere out there, Raja was fighting for survival, unaware of the human threat closing in. The weight of her childhood promise pressed heavily on her shoulders. "I'm here, Raja," she whispered into the gathering dusk. "I'm going to save you." The next morning, Lily found herself strapping on a Kevlar vest, her hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had volunteered for the anti-poaching task force without hesitation, her intimate knowledge of the Sundarbans making her an invaluable asset. Remember, Captain Rahim briefed the team, his voice low and serious. "These poachers are well armed and desperate. Stay alert, stay together, and trust your instincts." As they set out into the labyrinthine waterways of the Sundarbans, Lily's mind raced. She knew every twist and turn of these channels, every hidden path through the mangroves. But so did the poachers, and they had a head start. For 3 days, the team tracked the poachers' trail. They found snares, hastily abandoned camps, and once chillingly, a pool of dried blood that tested positive for tiger DNA. With each discovery, Lily's determination grew fiercer. The Sundarbans at night was a world transformed. Lily's breath came in short, controlled bursts as she pushed through the undergrowth, her senses on high alert. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The night patrol had started routinely enough a standard operation to deter poachers and check on the wildlife. A sudden storm had blown Lily away from her team, with the roaring wind and pounding rain preventing radio communication. Now, hours later, she found herself alone in the heart of tiger territory. Her hand tightened on her tranquilizer gun. Suddenly, Lily froze. A new sound had joined the nocturnal chorus, a low, pained growl that sent shivers down her spine. It was close, too close. Her training kicked in, overriding her fear. Slowly, carefully, she moved towards the sound. The mangroves parted, revealing a small clearing. Lily's breath caught in her throat. There, not 10 feet away, lay a young tigress. Even in the dim light, she could see the blood matting its fur and the laboured rise and fall of its flanks. But it was the tigress's eyes that truly captured Lily. They were filled with pain, yes, but also a fierce intelligence that seemed to bore right through her. For a fleeting moment, Lily's heart leapt with recognition. "Raja," she whispered, her voice barely audible. But as soon as the name left her lips, she knew she was mistaken. This tigress was far too young to be Raja, who would be much older now. The resemblance had momentarily overwhelmed her rational thought. Lily shook her head, clearing away the fog of hope and memory. This wasn't Raja, but another tiger in desperate need of help. The realization brought a mix of disappointment and renewed determination. Every tiger in the Sundarbans was precious, a vital part of the ecosystem she had sworn to protect. The tigress's ears twitched at Lily's voice, but it made no move to attack. Instead, it let out another low growl, this one tinged with what sounded almost like a plea for help. Lily's mind raced. The wound looked like it had been caused by a snare, the work of poachers. She needed to help, to call for backup. But before she could reach for her radio, a sound froze her in place, human voices speaking in low, urgent tones, and they were getting closer. Lily's blood ran cold as she made out snippets of conversation worth a fortune on the black market. Saw it heading this way, poachers, and they were closing in. Lily looked back at the wounded tigress, seeing not just an animal in need, but a symbol of the very wildlife she had dedicated her life to protecting. She couldn't let the poachers find her, but what could she do? She was outnumbered, outgunned, and lost in a forest that was as dangerous as it was beautiful. The voices were getting closer, and Lily knew she had only moments to decide stay and protect the tigress, risking her own life in the process, try to lead the poachers away, leaving the wounded animal vulnerable. Or attempt to move the tigress to safety, a near impossible task given its size and injuries. As the sound of snapping twigs announced the poacher's imminent arrival, Lily made her choice. Whatever happened next, she knew it would define not just her career but her entire life's purpose. With her heart pounding and adrenaline surging through her veins, Lily stepped forward, placing herself between the approaching threat and the wounded tigress. She raised her tranquilizer gun, her hands steady despite the fear coursing through her. "I'm not leaving you," she whispered to the tigress. "Not this time." This was what she had trained for. This was why she had returned to the Sundarbans. And no matter what happened next, she would face it with the same courage and determination that had brought her to this point. The poachers stepped into the clearing, and time seemed to stand still. The fate of Lily, the young tigress, and perhaps the future of conservation in the Sundarbans hung in the balance. The leader, a scarred man with cold eyes, raised his rifle. "Step aside," he growled, his voice low and menacing. "This doesn't concern you." Lily's grip tightened on her tranquilizer gun, knowing it was woefully inadequate against their firearms. "This absolutely could concern me," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "I am Dr. Lily Sanders, and I'm here to protect this tiger and all wildlife in the Sundarbans." The poachers exchanged looks of annoyance and amusement. The leader's finger tightened on the trigger. Last chance. Move or we'll move you. Time seemed to stand still. Lily knew she had mere seconds before the situation exploded into violence. "If you want this tiger," she called out, her voice ringing with determination, "you'll have to go through both of us." The poachers hesitated, clearly thrown by this unexpected turn of events. The leader's rifle wavered, uncertainty creeping into his eyes. For a tense moment, the clearing was silent, save for the ragged breathing of both Lily and the tigress. The fate of both hung in the balance, dependent on the decision of the poachers and the fragile trust between woman and tiger. Lily's fingers curled into the tiger's fur, feeling the warmth and life beneath. She had made her stand now. All she could do was hope that her desperate gambit would pay off, that her lifetime of dedication to these animals would somehow see her through this impossible situation. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shattered the night, causing everyone to flinch. But it hadn't come from the wounded tigress beside Lily. From the shadows of the mangroves, a massive shape emerged, another tiger, larger and older than the first. Lily's heart leapt into her throat. She knew those eyes, that distinctive stripe pattern. "Raja," she whispered, scarcely believing it. The great tiger, older now but still magnificent, padded into the clearing, her eyes locked onto Lily. For a moment the years fell away. Then her gaze shifted to the younger tigress, and understanding dawned on Lily. This wasn't just any young tiger, this was Raja's offspring. Raja let out another earth-shaking roar, positioning herself protectively in front of both Lily and the younger tigress. The poachers, already unnerved by Lily's actions, now found themselves facing not one but two tigers with a determined conservationist between them. It was too much. The leader's rifle wavered, then lowered. "This isn't worth it," he muttered to his companions. "Let's get out of here." As if on cue, shouts and flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Lily's team had finally found her. The poachers, realizing they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered, dropped their weapons and raised their hands. As her colleagues rushed in to secure the poachers and tend to the wounded tigress, Lily found herself in an extraordinary position. She stood between Raja and her offspring, a living bridge between past and future. Raja rumbled low in her throat, a sound Lily remembered from years ago. Slowly, cautiously, she turned to face her fully. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the years spent apart seemed to vanish. "Hello, old friend," Lily said softly, her voice thick with emotion. To the astonishment of everyone watching, Raja took a step forward. Lily held her ground, trusting in their shared history. The great tiger lowered her head and so gently pressed her forehead against Lily's. Tears sprang to Lily's eyes as she carefully raised her hands, cradling Raja's massive head. For a breathtaking moment they stood there, human and tiger, in a silent communion that spoke volumes about trust, respect, and the unbreakable bonds that can form between species. The younger tigress, watching this display, let out a small chuff. Lily turned, keeping one hand on Raja and extending the other towards the younger tiger. After a moment's hesitation, she too stepped forward, allowing Lily's touch. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the trees, illuminating the clearing, Lily found herself at the center of an extraordinary tableau. Her arms were wrapped around Raja's neck, while the younger tigress pressed against her side. The image of the blonde woman in her blue uniform, embraced by two of the jungle's most fearsome predators, was breathtaking. Cameras clicked as Lily's team captured the moment, knowing instinctively that they were witnessing something profound. This image would soon spread around the world, becoming a powerful symbol of conservation, trust, and the enduring bond between humans and wildlife. As the moment stretched on, Lily felt a profound sense of purpose settle over her. This was why she had returned to the Sundarbans, not just to remember the past, but to forge a new future. With Raja on one side and her offspring on the other, Lily knew that her work was far from over. It was, in many ways, just beginning. Lily's reunion with Raja not only saved her life but also reinvigorated conservation efforts in the Sundarbans. What unexpected animal encounter have you experienced? How do you think early bonds with wildlife can shape a person's life? Share your story in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.